What's up? What's up? Well, I am the one and only Matthew Jane Glasper, known as MJG. I'm gonna like to send out a little message also to people that dealing with hip problem that constantly getting the hip replacement. A lot of times you doesn't have to get the hip replacement, even if the bone is rubbing against bone. But yet, I know I posted many times on my Facebook page, but nobody believes it. But it's your choice. You want to get a hip replacement, you go ahead. But you doesn't have to. There's many people since I had a hip replacement ignorantly. And what I mean by ignorantly, I didn't realize that my body was missing vitamin D. Vitamin D not only will help restore the friction of your bone, but it will also restore and regrow the tissue in between the joints and the tissue that actually cover your bone socket. Now your bone socket have like a rag wrapped around it, but it's tissue. If you ever eaten chicken and you broke that joint, when you broke the joint, on the inside of that joint, you have this white, real hard tissue that most people don't eat. Notice I said most. Some of them I've seen eat it. But your body have the exact same thing. Now, what had happened, that tissue, you have worn it out because you have not been putting enough vitamin D back into your body, your lifestyle, your exercise, your activity, or you might have just been born with poor level of vitamin D, like I was. And so I even to my sons and my daughters, I tell them, get on vitamin D because you also were born with a low level of vitamin D. How do I know? Because you my child. So so by you being my seed and I have low vitamin D, you have even lower. So you need to be on vitamin D. Vitamin D protects your heart, not only protects your joint. We have what you call a sixth sense mind. Your sixth sense mind makes the decision where is needed for your vitamin D that you have left in your body needed the most. It have to choose between your joints and your heart and your brain. Yes, your brain needs vitamin D. Otherwise, you wouldn't remember nothing. That's where Alzheimer comes in. At. Most Alzheimer people that have Alzheimer come from lack of vitamin D and water. So, and most elderly people, when they get older, they don't drink water anymore. You can give them a pop. Some of them won't even drink the pop. And they'll drink 3 or 4 cups of coffee a day. But it's not enough liquid in that per day to substitute for drinking water. But you must take your vitamin D. And a lot of young people think that vitamins is for older people. That's the biggest dumb lie in the planet. I've been taking vitamins ever since I was 15 years old. Why? What made me get on them? From reading and studying books. My intention to outdo my opponent, to have more energy and be more healthy than everybody that stood in front of me. That was my goal. I accomplished it many times and time be over. So you must take your vitamin D. But if you have gotten a hip replacement, I have exercise on my videos, but rebuilding up the hip. And one of the things that you got to do, you're gonna have to stretch. No matter what, you're going to have to stretch. It's not gonna feel good. But if you can endure that little pain, God will restore that health. The greater your flex and your healthier, the longer and the less chance that you will ever have to have hip replacement or if you've already gotten hip replacement, that ball that's in there that's capable of deteriorating will never deteriorate. Why? because it doesn't have that massive muscle squeezing that ball, so it's not being scrubbed like you're trying to wash some hard dirt out of clothes. So now when you walk, it's just barely a little slight rub, which means that that ball will last you the next 150 years in your hip because of good flex. But in order to have good flex, you got to take your vitamin D. And after you've been cut on, you must also add calcium for your bone, because now your bone is damaged. I am still striving for a greater level of hip flex. Now, what I have just discovered here, which is my workout for today, is sprint. The sprinting was able to begin developing my hip at a higher level than just jogging. I've been jogging 3 to 5 miles twice a week, and it doesn't bother me. I can turn it on. But when I went to sprinting, I discovered a whole nother new soreness in my hip. Why? Because my muscle have not developed in my hip at a level where I can snatch out at 150 or 200 miles an hour, snatch instantly reaction without causing pain. Is it conditioned enough to do it? Maybe yes, and maybe no, because I've been working on it for the last 10 years. But the problem is that what has been programmed in my mind, the way my body was naturally built by God to have a real bone there and not an artificial in my hip. So certain exercise that when I jumped into a new exercise, such as my sprinter that I'm going into now, my body rejects it, or put it in a better form, my mind rejects it because of the hip replacement. So what I have to do now is overthrow my mind. What you mean overthrow your mind? I'm going to reject what I feel, knowing that my hip is healthy, knowing that I'm putting the proper nutrition in my body, knowing once I do that consistently, my mind would assume that there's nothing wrong in my hip, and it will yield to the vision of my mind to strengthen it and allow me to do these drills with no pain, just like it did when I had without a hip replacement. We go through the same process. Let me put it in better form. I went through the same process before I had a hip replacement. When I first started doing sprint, the next day I was sore. But because I hadn't been cut on or anything, I understood that I was just sore because I wasn't in shape for that level of sprinting. I understood that. Be it so also even when I got the hip replacement. I'm in shape to do 1,000 leg press with 300 pounds. It doesn't bother my leg. I'm in shape to do 1,000 leg raise with 20-pound leg weights on it. It doesn't bother my leg. I don't get sore after it. I overcame that. I'm beyond that. Now, my question is, what in the world I'm doing getting sore when I do these little sprints? I'm working with less weight. I don't weigh no 300 pounds. So why is my leg getting sore? It's the mechanical movement that I haven't done inside of my mind. So I have to reattack my mind, visualizing that I can without the soreness. Once I continue to put that program in my mind, it will cease and begin to rebuild and reshape my muscle as I have visualizing that it is. The power of the mind. Every man and woman have what you call a sixth sense mind. If you did not have a sixth sense mind, you wouldn't remember when you was that you was a child. You couldn't talk about when you was 17 years old and when you was a teenager. You wouldn't remember any of that stuff. That's your sixth sense mind. That is not your natural mind. Your natural mind don't remember none of that. No, it don't. It's your sixth sense mind feed it back to your natural mind, telling it that, and your natural mind just agree. That's all. Power of the mind. I'm gonna do a couple strength, and then I'm gonna turn you out, and I'm gonna talk to you later because I have to complete my workout. Today it's just strength, working on strength. Run, sprint, walk, sprint, run, sprint, walk, sprint. You be good to yourself. Joint juice for repairing of hip is one of the best that I ever known. How did I know? I gave it to a dog that couldn't walk. In 1 week, the dog got stood up and started walking. I tell you what I live. I would never tell you what the doctor said and what this person said and what this person said. Once I used it myself and tested for myself, then I would put it on YouTube and Facebook. Otherwise, I won't. I don't do hearsay. Talk to you later. Key to my sprint, I must be on my ball of my toe on every movement. A lot of time I will miss it with my right feet and I drop flat footed. That's what I'm trying to stop because if I run flat footed, I don't get this problem. But I run on my ball of my toes and I'm pushing that maximum level, that's when I develop soreness. Now, in the last 5 days, the soreness had become less and less. The beginning of this week when I sprint, it was even lesser because I learned how to deal with it. When I sprint, in order for my muscle to become sore, they have to contract like they're pulling back into it, not resisting. All I simply do after my stretch, after my sprint, I go stretch. When I go and stretch right after my sprint, I have no soreness. Now, this is my new dog, Snow. I give her vitamin D. I put it in her food. So when she started getting older, I know she's not going to have no hip problem. I don't have to worry about her ending up with cancer because of poor level of vitamin D. Yes, if you're not taking enough vitamin D, getting it in your body, cancer is going to shake hands with you, whether it be in your breast, whether it be in your chest, whether it be in your kidneys, whether it be in your prostate, but it will shake your hand, guaranteed. I'll talk to you later. I am the one and only MJG. Be good to yourself. Take your vitamin.